So raise your hand if you've already filmed this video once today, but you had to refilm it because you had lipstick on your teeth the entire time. I'm a mess of a human being. Hello everyone, my name is Isabeau and welcome to my channel. Today we are doing something that is maybe a couple of weeks late, but forgive me. I was like deathly ill at the beginning of 2017. Did not get off to a good start, but we are making up for it. I'm feeling good. I'm back. I'm wearing lipstick. It's on my teeth. Today I am going to go over 10 books that I want to read in 2017. I sat down and looked at my bookshelf and made a list of books that I really want to read this year. Every year, for the most part, I participate in the Goodreads reading challenge, and this year I was like, I'm gonna be ambitious. I'm gonna try and read 20 books this year. I think that's a good number. I have to read like 1.5-ish a month, somewhere around there. So I was like, that's good. Usually I just do 12 books so that I read a book a month, and then usually I read over that, but sometimes I don't. Things get busy. And then I started looking at other people's challenges, and they're like, you know, I think I'm gonna take it late this year. I think I'm only gonna read 40 books. And I was just like, how do you do that? Most of these, as you will see, are books that I bought when I moved to Austin and discovered that half-price books is a thing. In fact, most of these actually were bought in Austin because when I moved here, we forgot one suitcase, and that one suitcase had my books in it. And it was like the worst day of my life when I went to unpack everything and I was like, where are my books? So most of these, a lot of these are from half-price books or have been purchased in Austin over the past few months. And some of them are books I've had for years that have just been waiting on my shelf to be read. And so my goal is to really read books that I already have before I go out and buy more books, because I could buy books until the cows come home, and then I would buy more books, and then it would just be bad. I'd be drowning in books, basically. So without further ado, let's get started. What are these? Modified finger guns? Violence is never the answer, guys. Be nice. Trump will be in office soon, and we will all be very sad. So these are in no particular order. This is just the order that I thought of them when I was looking at my bookshelf. So the first book on the list of 10 books that I want to read in 2017 is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. This is a bit of a monster. This is a big book and it's intimidating, and that's why I haven't started it. It has just been sitting on my shelf staring at me. I bought this at Half Price Books, as you can see from the sticker, and it's sort of like a bucket list item to try and read the Russian classics. I don't know how realistic that is or if I will ever actually do it. But you know, it's good to have lofty goals. Russian classics are notoriously difficult. I keep saying the word intimidating, but I'm very intimidated by this. I have read a novella by Leo Tolstoy before. I read The Death of Ivan Ilyich. I don't know what the correct pronunciation is, but I read that when I was in college. And it was a novella. I loved it, but it was short, so it was easy. This is not short. Hey. Okay. You may notice in my list that I have a few sort of classics on there. I'm trying to read, I like classic books actually. I'm just popular. No one ever texts me this much. Let's just be real. So I'm trying to read different kinds of books that I wouldn't necessarily ordinarily pick up. And I like classics, but I have avoided the Russians. So yeah, I want to read this. It's been staring at me for months and months. This is one of the first books that I bought when I moved here. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna try. We're gonna try our best. So the next one is sort of a twofer. Years and years ago, 2013 actually, so like 3.5 years ago, I read The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and I loved it. Thought it was really creative and interesting and exciting, and I read it fast, and I was so excited to continue the series. And so I looked it up and I was like, ooh, when's the next book coming out? There was no date for the next book, and this was going to be the first of 7, and I was just like, fuck. So I was horrified that I was going to have to wait for God knows how long for 7 books. And then I found the Mime Order. It came out, I think, last year. if not longer ago. Okay, this came out 2 years ago. This came out in 2015, and I bought it as soon as I knew that it was out, and I started reading it, and I just looked, I got to the 3rd chapter, and then I had to stop reading it because I couldn't remember anything. It had been so long since I had read the Bone season that I couldn't remember. I was completely lost. So the book that I want to read this year is The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. I want to read this and continue the series because I love the first one so much. But in order to read this, I have to read the Bone season first. So I'm not including this on my list. This doesn't count as one of the 10 because it's a reread, but I have to reread this in order to do this. I mean, there's something to be said about creating such an intricate world, but damn, it's confusing. So both of these. Ooh. Next on the list is another classic. It's Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I am not entirely sure why I bought this, maybe because it was $2.99 and it's a classic and it's one of those books that people read and that you should read, maybe. I don't know. I feel like I've heard that Heathcliff and Cathy are two of the least sympathetic characters in literary history. But I bought it, and since I bought it, I'm gonna read it. I have tried several times to read Jane Eyre, which is by Charlotte Bronte. I've never gotten through it. So I'm hopeful that I'm gonna give the other Bronte a try and see if I can get through this. It's shorter than Jane Eyre, so that's a good sign. So we will see how it goes. I've started it a couple of times, I think. I never made it far. I've never really committed to it. So, commitment. One of my goals for 2017. Next up is another doozy. I don't know what I'm gonna do. This one I think is 731 pages. And that is the Alexander Hamilton biography by Ron Chernow. I have said it before on this channel and I will say it again. I am a Hamilton fangirl to the extreme. I worship at the altar of Lin-Manuel Miranda. I think he's a genius. I went and saw Moana, and then the song came on where like he actually sings in it, and I was so proud of someone that I don't even know for singing in a Disney movie that I started crying in the theater, even though I was like already crying because the movie just made me so emotional. It's so good. So I love Lin-Manuel Miranda. I love Hamilton. I love the musical. Obsessed with the mixtape. Haven't seen the musical because, you know, I'm poor and I've never been to New York. It's going on tour, so maybe I'll make my way to San Francisco to see it. Who knows? You know, there are dreams in this world. It's huge, it's heavy, I'm sure it will be a challenge. I love history, but nonfiction books are very difficult for me to read. They take me a really long time. So I think this is gonna be a major time investment. I don't think it's one of those things that I'm gonna like fly through it. If it's good enough for Lynn, god damn it, it's good enough for me. I just wanna like sing Hamilton every time I look at this. Next up is another twofer, and this one I am counting as two separate books. So these are books 5 and 6 of books that I want to read in 2017. Number 5 is Children of Dune by Frank Herbert, and number 6 is God Emperor of Dune by Frank Herbert. I read Dune years ago, probably 3 or 4. I absolutely loved it. It's such a great story, and Dune is definitely science fiction, but it's so much more than that. It's so much more than just taking place on another planet. It's a story about politics and religion and family and love and responsibility and sacrifice. It's like, it's so good. It's so good. It's very heady and there's a lot going on. I read Dune several years ago, and then I read Dune Messiah, which is the second book in the series, last year, and absolutely loved it. I'm not sure if I liked it more than the first one or if I liked it just as much, or I don't know. It was great, and I, again, read Dune and read Dune Messiah. Children of Dune is the 3rd book in the series, and God Emperor of Dune is the 4th book in the series. So I don't know if I plan on reading beyond these. God Emperor is my dad's favorite Dune book of all time, so that's really why I want to get to it. But we'll see if I continue after the series. This year, I'm just focusing on these two. Number 7 on my list of books I want to read this year is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. This one, Outlander. You know what it is. I bought this after the show came out, and I didn't continue watching the show because I don't have Stars, and I don't illegally pirate things because that's wrong. and illegal. But I bought this and I haven't read it, and it's been sitting on my shelf for years, and I brought it all the way to Austin from California, so I have to read it. I'm sure once I get into it, it will be fine. It is very large and in charge. I think it's like 850 pages or something crazy. So again, another honker. I'm sure it'll go more quickly than the Alexander Hamilton biography. It just needs to be done. It needs to be read. I've had it. I just need to read it, and then I don't know if I'll continue reading the Outlander series. Depends on how much I like this one. But I'm gonna do it, and I'm excited for sexy times, because that's all I know. Because like older women like these books, right? That's sort of the thing. We'll see. Next up is another doozy, but in a different way. It's really important to me, so I really want to be able to enjoy it, and that is the Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. I love Tolkien. I love the Lord of the Rings. I have a Lord of the Rings tattoo. I was obsessed with the movies. I read all of the books between 6th and 7th grade. I think it took me like a year and a half to read all 4, the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit. And The Hobbit is one of my favorite books of all time. We will not talk about the films for reasons. I love Middle-earth, and the Silmarillion is, I think, essentially the story of Middle-earth and the background of Middle-earth prior to the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So I know that this is difficult. I know that people that are not Tolkien fanatics tend to not take this on, but I am excited to do this and to like certify nerd, get my Lord of the Rings Middle-earth Tolkien certification and nerddom. So I'm intimidated by this, as I am by a lot of the books on this list, and I think that this is another one that I will read for just like the pride of doing it, but it probably won't be a reread. But who knows, I could absolutely love it and read it like every year, so we shall see. Number 9 on my list of books that I want to read in 2017 is Undivided by Neil Shusterman. Again, a book that came out several years ago. So long ago, in fact, that I have a bookmark in here that has books that I read, in 2014. So, you know, it's fine. I loved Unwind. I thought Unwind was a great book. I thought it was very thought-provoking and provocative and interesting. If you don't know what Unwind is about, although the book's fairly old at this point, it's a dystopian book where abortion is illegal, but once your child reaches a certain age, you can have them unwound, where that means that basically all of their organs are harvested and they no longer exist in the world, although they continue to exist in the people who receive their organs. As a result of receiving all these organs, people live longer and the unwanted children are gotten rid of. So parents can either give their children, there are children that are raised and that are born to be unwound, and then there are kids, that are in foster care or orphanages or whatever who are unwound because they have nowhere else to go. But I love the first book. I had difficulty in reading the other books, mainly because for 2 reasons. I really liked Connor, loved Connor. As the series progressed, he continued to make terrible decisions, and it's so hard to watch someone that you care about make terrible decisions, even though he's a fictional character. I was just reading it like, Connor, what are you doing? No! So that made it difficult, and I also did not really like Cam. I think he was introduced in the second book, and I was not a fan of his character or his dynamic with Rissa. I didn't like that he was coming between Rissa and Connor. OTP. I found the series difficult to read. I didn't like those books as much as I liked the first one, mainly because I loved those characters, but I just want to finish the series. I think there's also a novella, which I, again, have not read, but I want to finish the series. This is the 4th book in the series. So it's more about wanting to complete it. Whereas with the Bone Season, and I don't remember anything that happened in that book, I think I remember enough of the Unwind series to read this and not be completely lost. The final book on my list is actually 2 books. That's right, another twofer, because I have no self-control, but they're both short, so it'll be okay. My 10th and 11th books that I want to read in 2017 are Persuasion and Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I love Jane Austen. Jane Austen is my favorite author of all time. I don't know if Pride and Prejudice or Sense and Sensibility is my favorite book of all time, but it's definitely one of those two. She's just so important to me. I love her. I love her writing. I love her stories. When I went to England a couple of years ago, I went to Winchester Cathedral and got to visit her grave where she's buried. And then I went to Chawton and went to the Jane Austen House Museum, which is where she wrote most of her work. These two were published after her death. But once I read these, then I only have one book left. I only have Mansfield Park left. And then I would have read all of her novels. So Jane Austen is very important to me. I actually picked these up when I was in England. I got these in Bath, which is an important place for Jane Austen books. So I'm excited to read these. I have had them for a long time. I don't know why I haven't read them. I don't know. I don't have an excuse. But I'm excited to read them. I love Jane Austen, and so I know that I'm going to love these. So with those being done for the second time today, that is going to wrap up the video. Let me know down below what books are on your list to read in 2017. Is there one that you're like, ooh, that's going to be really challenging, but I really want to do it? Let me know and we can read our books together and like cheer each other on. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to, you can go ahead and click that subscribe button right there. It's a little circle with me like, confused face. Who could say no to that face? She will make an even more sad, confused face if you do not subscribe. So that is going to do it here for me. I hope you're having a wonderful day, a wonderful week, a wonderful 2017, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.